What?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm excited. Hi, everybody. What's up? My name is
Hello.
Ace. Hello. Hi. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Hi, everybody. My name is Ace Soul, and welcome to the second episode of CSS Presents. I will be your host for today. I don't know if I said that already, but if I did, my bad. Oops. And we have one returning host, which is Platypus, and we have two new people. So we're gonna start off with some introductions. Sasha, can you go first? Just say
Hi.
who you are and what you stream and what you do.
Sure. I'm Sasha Jace. I think I'm the only live anime person. No, that's not true. Millinus is an anime person too.
But you're
I'm
best
one
girl.
of the only live anime persons on Twitch. As far as I know, I'm a variety streamer. I play a little bit of everything. We just finished Lunar Silver Star Story on stream, and we're starting a Halo retrospective. So yesterday we started with Halo Wars, and I'm going to work through the whole series all the way through to the end of Halo Wars 2 in early December.
Is that that's in preparation for the new Halo coming out?
No, it's just something I do every now and then. I'm a big Halo fan, and it's been a long time since I've played through the whole series, starting at Halo Wars. So I figured, hey, we're coming up on a year on Twitch. This seems like a good time to do it, so why not?
Do you already know the timeline of all the Halo games?
With the exception of, what is it called? It's the twin stick shooter one. That's the only one that I don't know where it fits, but I think that's in universe is supposed to just be a simulation training, so I don't think it matters.
Where's Halo Wars 2 at?
It's after Halo 5.
It's after Halo. Okay.
Wow.
That is all.
I'm thinking, like, can I do that with any game that I know right now, game series? Probably Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, that's the only one I can do it for.
But that's immediately more impressive than any other franchise, so.
Sorry. Halo or Kingdom Hearts?
Kingdom Hearts, like that's. You could be like, hey, where does Recoded come in? You're like, oh, it's between these. It's between the mobile phone game and the one that came out on toasters and only in Sri Lanka.
Recoded is between what's the card one? No.
Chain of Memories.
Chain of Memories, yes. Between Chain of Memories and 368 over 2 days.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. Next we have Vonamore. Hi, Vonamore.
Hello.
Who are you? Who
am I? Oh boy. Well, I am a variety streamer as well. I play a lot of RPGs and platformers, and overall, I just have fun on my stream. Positive energies, comfy vibes, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. What are you doing next?
Next, we're going to be starting Pokemon Yellow, actually.
Oh,
I made a top 10 RPG list. That was number 1.
Dude, I'm really excited. I'm also planning on having people name the Pokemon for that chat interaction. So I'm looking forward to it.
Will you ever do a Nuzlocke run of the game?
Probably not.
Okay.
I don't think I'd be able to successfully go through that.
No, that's fine. Next we got Platypus. He is returning from last time, and he is always a wonderful person to have on the podcast. So hey, tell a little bit more about yourself. What's up? Just in case for newcomers and people that want to know more about you.
Well, I am Platypus. I guess I'm a variety streamer like everyone else. I tend to stick more towards like card games though, and I don't know, just anything single player, and then like single player long games, and then card games on the side. I'm a huge like Hearthstone, Magic the Gathering, hopefully Artifact fanboy, and I don't have as much positive energy. I do get a little salty, more than I would like. It's something I'm working on, but I'm also pretty sarcastic to my chat in general, not particularly polite to them, but they seem to like it.
They understand.
I have an insult command. It's my most used command by tenfold, and it just calls someone a piece of garbage. It's used it's used like 10 times more than the next one.
Very nice. I like it. Do you have a favorite card game in mind when you think of one?
Magic the Gathering is probably the best card game ever made. However, hopefully Artifact will be better, but I doubt it.
And why is
I don't know.
Magic the best?
It's hard to say. I mean, it is kind of the first, right?
Mhm.
Like, it's one of the first real main card games.
I mean, I
but
guess so.
There may have been things similar to it before, but it's definitely like all card games are iterations basically on Magic. But it just the ability to interact with your opponent, and it's a very social game, and it's a very like there is like luck and drawing cards and stuff, but more so than a game like Hearthstone, it's much more mind games with your opponent where you'll purposefully like leave some cards in your hand that you could use, but you're just not going to use them because you want them to think you could do something. You'll purposely tap lands in specific ways just to make them think there's certain things you can do. And so there's a lot of mind games involved in it and a lot of just interaction. You could prevent them from doing things they want to do, which in Hearthstone is a good example. You can't. You kind of are a dictator on your turn. You have your turn, you do all your things, and they have their turn. They do all their things. But some games in Magic only play cards on their opponent's turns just to screw with them.
That is, I did not know that, but okay.
It's a very fun game.
Thank you for all that.
The last time I played Magic was against a blue deck that all it ever did was make me draw cards, discard cards from the top of my deck, and put cards that I had in play back in my hand, so I had to discard more cards. That's all the deck did.
Yeah,
Oh my
that's
God.
blue. Blue is like the goal of blue. Like every color has their own goal. Like red is like I want to hit them in the face with lots of points of damage. I want to burn their face off. And then blue is like I would like them to not want to play Magic again. That's basically what the whole color does.
I want you to not play the game right now. That's what I
It's like-
want from you.
It's like, all right, I'm playing against blue. I will now uninstall the card game. That was fun. I have slippers right there, and my feet are cold. I'm gonna grab them.
Go ahead.
I'm
Please
being
do.
professional.
Be professional.
I have my blanket.
The closest thing I think I ever had to that was Yu-Gi-Oh. Yu-Gi-Oh was still a thing. Is it still a thing? Is Yu-Gi-Oh still a thing for Platypus?
I will say I am incredibly impressed by the amount of people that think that game is not trash. I hate it, but our good CSS buddy Lanfy is very much a Yu-Gi-Oh player. He likes Duel Links. He's not so happy with the direction, but if you just like Google it or YouTube it, there's a huge community of Yu-Gi-Oh players. Even though I think it is an incredibly bad game.
I'm sorry, Vaughn. Did I cut you off on something?
No,
No. Okay.
just
But,
listen.
the closest thing I had with like the blue decks you were talking about was in Yu-Gi-Oh, where there's a card called Chain Energy, and I like to play that all the time because I like taking risks. It's just fun, and what it does is that every time either you or your opponent plays any card for any reason, you pay 500 life points.
Nice.
So
That's
now
just
it's
kind of
like
fun things.
Yeah. So now it's just like whenever you play a card, you got to be careful. Like, do I actually need to play this card like right now, or can I do it later? And it's for both of us, so it's fun. I don't know. People didn't like the fact that I played it, but I did anyway.
I mean, I go in depth into card games for like hours, so
Well, that'll be
maybe
a
I shouldn't talk about them too much. Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about a few things. The first thing we're going to discuss though is something that I wanted to talk to people about for like a very long time, but not get the chance to. I wanted to know you guys' opinion on what makes like video games, movies, and mostly video games, like stuff that you play, fun or entertaining, because there's always some core element to gaming that gets people coming back. It gets people wanting to play more, and it's probably different for multiple other different games. People go and play games for different reasons, but is there a core element that makes games fun? Like what is that? And does that evolve over time or something? Does anyone have any ideas of that?
I mean, the only thing all games have in common inherently, right, is that they're interactive, which is probably a core thing that makes them entertaining to some people. But after you get past that, obviously different games have different pulls. But I would say people in general overhype, or they give too much credit. Well, they'll be like, it's the story. I really just love this a good story with good characters, and that's definitely an important part. But even like games with really good stories and really good characters are rarely better than movies or TV shows that we like. And a lot of times people still like these games more than they like these movies. And I think it just has to do more with I think it's more mechanics driven than it is just purely story and characters.
Okay. Anybody else? Vaughn?
I'm a
Or
little bit
Sasha?
towards where Platypus said. I don't really watch TV, and I only watch a handful of movies a year. Video games are kind of my replacement for TV and movies. So I like a game with a good story, and if a game has a really phenomenal story, I can overlook bad gameplay mechanics and sort of power through it. But if a game has a mediocre story and just garbage mechanics, I can't play it. It's like any other game, in my opinion. Like if I'm sitting down to play a board game, I want a board game that's engaging and fun to play, not that I just sit there and move a piece around for an hour.
Okay.
So for me, gameplay comes first, and if you can support that gameplay with an interesting and an engaging story, that makes it better. But if you don't have the gameplay in the first place, it's kind of hard to get me to stay put long enough.
Everyone saw the chat. Everyone just wait. Vaughn, did you have anything to add to that?
For me, I'm basically in the middle of these two because I do watch a lot of like media, like movies and TV shows, but I also play a lot of video games as well. For me, I think it's a lot about the immersion, being able to play something, and for me, it's a lot about yes, the amazing story. Like if a story is able to make me I've always been big on like escapism and immersion into a story, so that means a lot to me. But also, the feeling of getting better at a game is also really special to me. Um, just feeling like I'm growing with the character is something that you can't really get with a movie. Like you're watching a character get better, but with a video game, you're almost putting yourself in that character's shoes. So you yourself feel like you're improving in the game, and I think that's something that's pretty special that only really video games are able to capture that well.
And that's different from like movie series where you have to like watch somebody
Yeah,
do
like
their own thing where you probably wouldn't have make the same choices that they made.
yeah, so in a movie series and in an anime or TV, like you're rooting for the character, like you want them to do better, to do good, but you're not in control of their actions. Whereas in a video game, you have to root for yourself. Like you are the character, you have to make the decisions. If that character fails, you ultimately kind of fail. So if they succeed, you also kind of feel like you succeeded.
I mean, is that still the case where a video game would have a story where it's actually a character that you can't control their choices, you just play through the motions of the game?
Oh well, yeah, because then at that point, then it's kind of like storytelling. Then at that point, if you have no control over the character, it's still amazing to go through the motions with them and watch their story kind of be told.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How far do you guys think video games are going to go for the future wise?
In terms of story and
No, not in terms of story,
or
more
just in terms of
growing as a business.
I think it's still going to be growing quite a lot in the coming years.
Yeah, I think it's almost it could scale to basically the whole population because everyone has something that they like. Like grandmas like Farmville on Facebook, and then there are younger kids that like Fortnite on their phones, and there are people like us that like
huge.
single player things. It doesn't even like I don't know. My dad I think's probably played almost zero video games in his life, and he hates it because he's kind of more of a jock type guy. But like, it was like out of nowhere. It was Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2014 or something. Like it was like 80 hours a week. He was just in that game. It was his life. And so I think it's just more lining up video games with people than it is than anything. I think it'll just scale and everyone will find that thing that they will eat up their lives eventually.
Mm-hmm. Does virtual reality count to you guys as video gaming?
Oh yeah.
Or...
Yeah.
I think so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even walk like any kind of walking simulator, I still consider it a video game in most sense, and it's still interactive. It's interactive media, I guess you can call it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, video game is just interactive media. It doesn't have to scale with the number of mechanics, or it doesn't have to have 1,000 systems.
I'm gonna be probably slightly controversial. Walking simulators like Firewatch and Gone Home are interactive digital stories. They're not games. There's no gameplay.
What requires in-game gameplay? then? In your
Gameplay
opinion?
has there is a mechanic to it. There is something that you do. If all I'm doing is navigating a 3D environment for a story to be read to me, and I don't have to put any more effort in than that, that's not a game.
Okay, I have a question then.
That's a 3D virtual tour of a house.
Let's say there was hypothetically Firewatch is the identical game it is now, with the exception that every 30 steps a slime popped up and you had to hit X to attack it and kill it in one shot, and that was just throughout the entire game, and that was a mechanic. Would that then make it a game in your eyes, even if it made the whole package worse?
No, if
But
that's
that would
all
be
it was, that a slime popped out of a shrub and I pushed X and it went away and then I kept moving, that would be irritating and I would not play that. That's not a game.
Yeah. But I'm saying like maybe it's not a guaranteed number, but it's like there's like a % chance it'll show up and you have a few seconds to kill it. I just feel like that's a mechanic, right? Wouldn't that make it gameplay even if it was garbage?
Do I have more to do than just push the button? Do I have different things that I can do to give myself an edge in this encounter, or is it just a pop-up, push X and move forward?
It's a pop-up, push X and move forward.
I mean, you can move around, I'm assuming, right? Because
so you need multiple mechanics. You think there's like there's a floor where it's like I need at least like things that interact on multiple levels before it's a game.
Think of a board game, and all the board game is take a Monopoly board, and you start at go, and you go around the board, and the only thing you do in the game is you roll the die and you move that many spots. There's nothing else to the game. There's no strategy. There's no thought process. It's just roll the die, move that many spaces. There's no game.
I think that applies much more to like Chutes and Ladders or Candyland. Monopoly does have a lot of diplomacy involved.
But I'm using Monopoly as the example of the board, the very simple, just follow a path, right? There is no thought process. There is no strategy behind it. There's no game there. It's just mindless, and that's what, in my opinion, some of these walking simulator games are. Yes, they might be telling a really engaging story. That's fine. But there's no mechanic there. I wouldn't look at a choose-your-own-adventure novel that when you get to the bottom of the page, it goes, do you want to go in the cave or do you want to go in the forest? Turn to this page to do that activity. I wouldn't consider that a game. But that's what some of these walking simulators are, and everyone says they're games, and I disagree.
Okay, so question.
That's a pretty good argument, the choose-your-own-adventure novel, because you still have to, I was going to say, you still have to move in these walking simulators, but you still have to turn the pages in this book. You have to do something, but it's turning the page is not different than holding up on a thumbstick. That's a pretty decent argument.
If a game like Gone Home had puzzles in it that were more than just find the key to open the door, if it had Silent Hill style puzzles, I would call it a puzzle game, and I'd be okay with it. But it doesn't.
So, just as a side thing, like card games, like a deck of cards, War, right? You get you and your brother or sister, whatever, get half the deck, and you flip up the cards, and the higher card wins. That card, that is predetermined from the beginning who's going to win, who's going to lose, just by whatever the randomness is. Is that a game in your eyes, or is that?
It's a pretty shitty game.
Yeah, but would that be a game though? Or because it's already predetermined, you don't actually. There's no strategy or thought involved. It just happens. Keep doing it physical action.
There's a modicum of luck involved, but I wouldn't say that a narrative-driven thing like Gone Home had luck involved, unless you go, oh, I'm lucky, I found the key in 30 seconds. Eventually you'll find the key because there's only so many things you can turn over.
Okay, it feels like it's at the end of the day, it's a distinction that really matters. Probably not that much, but.
So Vaughn, are you leading any sort of way with this whole game talk?
I think it's a little hard for me because I feel like the title of game and labeling something a game is very it's subjective to a lot of people. A lot of people, they have their own opinions on it. I'm of the class where I like my action games. Like I love Halo, I love the games, but I also don't mind the mindless games like Harvest Moon. That's one of my favorite franchises. All I do is repeat the motions of you wake up, you go take care of your animals, you maybe give a gift or two to the girl that you like in the village, and then you go home, you sell your profits, and there you go, and rinse and repeat every single day. So there's not really that much mentalness that goes into a game like that. But to me, I still think of it as a game, simply because I think just for me, the title of game has been just it's very simple in my mind. Like it's
It is.
either consoles or
Yeah.
PC or and anything that's just of that sort. Like
Mhm.
that's always been like what a game is to me. Or yeah, like board games, card games. You could go into that thing. It's just there's so many different mediums of it, and I think that's why for me it's just more broad.
All right, so a few examples then for everybody to answer. Slender Man, the original, not the one, not Slender Man the Arrival, the original when it first came out.
Collecting the pages.
Yes. Video game, yes or no?
Yeah, you could lose.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a maze.
I think if you
Yeah.
could lose at something, that inherently makes it a video game. If it's like resembles that, like if you could lose at Firewatch, like I think that would probably.
Can you lose at
do more for
Firewatch?
the argument.
I don't know anything about.
I don't think
It's
so.
about
If there was like a bear you
Oh.
had to avoid, maybe that would make it like just a game right there.
So
Like, I really enjoy the Myst series, Myst, Riven, all of them. And in a way, you could say that they're walking simulators, but there are puzzles that you overcome to your progression. And that, to me, makes it a puzzle game. It's not a first-person shooter. It's not an action game. It's just puzzles. You could just put the puzzles in front of someone and go, "Here's a box full of puzzles. Play with them." And to me, that creates gameplay. If all Myst was walk to this point and hear exposition, and then walk to this point and hear exposition, I don't feel like there's gameplay anymore.
All right, good to know. There's a lot of different aspects that make a video game, and so we all said a few of them. But
I mean, it is slightly off topic because the topic is why do people like games or what makes games good, and this is more
no,
the
that's-
definition of what makes it a video game.
yeah, having a definition of what makes a game in the first place helps with the whole fact of
Oh, yeah.
what makes the game so entertaining. I think because
It's one of those online debated things. It's not a hill I'm willing to die on. I'm not gonna be like Firewatch is a video game. How dare you?
flips table.
Like I didn't play it. I wouldn't play any of those games. I'll call them a video game if people want, but it's still like I'm just not interested. I care about gameplay, and there is no gameplay. So yeah, I can understand why people would refuse to call it that.
So it seems that we all need something to be interactive in a video game to make it an actual game. So if that's the case, then in the future, when people like build off that aspect and they make a lot more virtual reality games, do you think it's just going to be virtual reality for like all consoles and just no more of the hardware of you having to buy a PS4 or having to buy an Xbox and stuff like that? Does that make sense?
like
Uh,
how would you experience the VR without the console?
Technology, I don't know. I don't know how technology works
are,
like that.
are we talking about reaching a point where Star Trek's holodeck is a real thing?
I guess
Okay.
so.
I'm waiting for that day.
I think so.
Or like Nanachi says in chat that we hit Sword Art Online, where you put a
Oh my
helmet on
God.
and you have like full neural input.
Like that kind of, even that's like Sword Art Online is
Like,
obviously an
is that a
extreme
game or is
example
that
of
an
something
interactive
cool, but
experience?
I think it's just like a full body experience. You're basically putting your entire mind into something.
yeah, but something like the holodeck or whatever, hypothetically, like that's not even appealing to me. Like that's not there's a huge group of people that don't want VR, don't want things like that. Like I want a screen and a controller, and I want to have a strategy game versus another person, and I don't care about the visuals. It's just like they want like some sort of competition more so. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that want like the virtual reality stuff, but I'm not in the group that really cares about it. Obviously, a Sword Art Online-esque thing that's so absurdly far in the future that we don't know, like that thing where it's like you're laying in a chair and your mind is connected.
Mhm.
Like that might be a little more preferable, but even then, it's like how big is this device going to be in your house and things like that? It would have to be like so easy and convenient that it would have to trump over like being able to sit at a desk at your house and play a computer game.
It would probably have to include all other forms of technology too. Like it would also be your phone. It would also be, other stuff that you need technology wise. But
Like Rad just saying Ready Player
that
One, but
point-
even then, that's like such a hassle. Like it's so hard to play that kind of thing, right? Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
people don't want to dedicate their whole lives to just trying to play a game.
Apparently they do in the
I was gonna
movies.
say
Yeah.
some people do. Some people do reach those extremes. I guess you would call it.
Hmm. Oh man.
I just want a controller and a screen for the rest of my life. I'm excited that for people, technology to show me things that I could not envision, but I'm not optimistic about the next 10, 20 years, anything being significantly different.
I don't want to
Alright.
sit with my head in a bucket to play a video game. That doesn't sound appealing to me.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not gonna know that your head. Well, you will know your head is in a bucket, but that's not gonna.
Yeah, but
That's
you
not how it's
won't.
gonna
You
feel,
won't know
right?
when someone comes in your place and takes all your stuff.
Very
'cause your
true.
head's in a
Very
bucket.
true.
How do you know that they're there?
Very true. Safety, but all right. We can switch over to the next topic though. So let me see. Oh yes, Nerd Cave. So I like anime a lot.
Yay!
Who else here likes anime? Vaughn
Just a little.
does. Sasha. I mean, just a
do you
little
see
bit.
these things behind me?
Says the anime person. Plat, are you like about anime or?
I mean, I guess if we had to put it at like 10 is someone that lives and breathes anime every day, and 0 is a jock that thinks it's for nerds, I'm probably at like a 6. Like I'm a little more towards the I like it side.
It's a healthy number.
Well, apparently a lot of people in the world are starting to open up to it, and it's becoming so mainstream now that we're going to have. Do you guys know the Macy's Day Parade that comes on in New York City?
It's gonna have Goku. Yeah,
Yes.
It's
you're
going
right.
Is
to
that
have a
really?
Goku float. Yes.
Wow.
Oh, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm. We finally made it, guys. We did it.
I mean, like I got a lot of we got a lot of things to talk about it, but like I think Dragon Ball Z is popular more so than anime is popular, right? Just because it is, I don't even know if a lot of people consider it an anime as much as it is just like an action show, even though it is an anime, of course.
It's one of the 3 biggest animes out there. Right? No, wait. It was. So that's why it was so popular.
In the American culture, it's probably the biggest. More people
Yeah.
will know Goku over Naruto, I think.
Yeah, that's probably true. And I was trying to think about this the other day, but what do you guys think was the cause of such a huge not uproar, just a growth in the people being more accepting or liking anime in general?
I think honestly a lot of it has to do with celebrities actually coming out and being like, "Yay, anime."
Like
Um,
who?
like
Celebrities.
for me, the 2 most notable that like actually brought a lot of attention were Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. Actually, Kanye has been very vocal.
Didn't Kim Kardashian tweet out that she thought that 02 from
Darling.
Darling in the Franks was like
Yeah.
her hair goddess or something like that?
Yeah. So
What?
earlier this year, Kim Kardashian did tweet out she dyed her hair pink. She said that her ultimate like inspiration and idol was 02 from Darling in the Franxx. So immediately the whole community was like, yes, exposure, which was amazing because it did bring a lot of exposure to the anime. And then in comparison with Kanye West as well, he's always been very vocal about his love for Akira. Right? Is it Akira? I think so.
I don't know. I don't keep up with
the-
Kanye. I don't know what he
there's a-
says anymore.
I think it was
There's a-
Akira. He was
there's a-
talking
Yeah.
because it was like inspired his
He
clothing
has like
line or something.
yeah, he's a jacket of it too. He's always been very vocal about that. So seeing these 2 giant like celebrities endorsing this kind of stuff, be like, this is cool and this is okay, makes other people be like, huh, interesting. Let me check it out. And be like, you know what, it's not that bad. So I think that brings a lot of good exposure. And I also think a lot too with comics actually have been bringing a lot of exposure just in general to animation and to nerd culture. Like with The Walking Dead and now with like Marvel and DC becoming so huge. I think people are like,
Yeah, I think
becoming-
that one. It was
Yeah.
mostly the movies that when it came out, like Iron Man, the first Iron Man when it came out in I don't know 2000 what
2000 and forever ago.
that was forever ago. When that movie came out, I think that's what helped start the whole comic book phase where everyone was like, "Oh my goodness, wait, Iron Man's actually pretty cool. I want to know more about him. Who are these other characters?" And so yeah, I know that movies definitely helped a lot with that. But also, in terms of like just the growth of comic books and everything, do you think it had anything to do with when people that used to like it when they were, I guess, when in high school, middle school, and they read it, and they got picked on or bullied or whatever whatever have you, and they grew up and they still enjoyed all that stuff and they were able to express it better because they were all more grown? Do you think that had anything to do with
I
it
think
either?
I think that's probably a big part of it. Is the 15, 20 years ago, gamers, comic book fans, we were all picked on and called nerds and pushed down and all this stuff. And then about, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, I start seeing t-shirts sold in malls that are like, nerds are great. I'm like, where was that when I was in high school?
Yeah.
So I think it's very much that the generation that sort of grew up on NES and SNES and Sega Genesis are finally at a point now where we are the ones designing products to be put out in the marketplace. And we're designing what we enjoyed, and it's making it more marketable and more palatable to the wider audience.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. That's interesting. I have a friend. Her name, I won't. Well, I shouldn't say her name. Never mind. I have a friend who's a teacher.
Let's call her Sasha.
I'll call her Susie. My friend Susie, she's a teacher, and she's an art teacher at elementary school. And apparently, recently, she had a lot of kids coming up to her, not kids, parents coming up to her, going, "Hey, so my child is he's into this new thing, and I don't know what it is, but I mean, it's something like Baku no Hero Academia, and I don't understand any of it. Like, do you understand it? Can you help me?" And she goes, "Yes, I can absolutely help you," because she's a really big anime and cosplay person. And I just thought how funny it is to just see all these parents now trying to be supportive of all their children's likes and wants, and them having to go through the whole wait, who is this Goku person? Is that Goku? No, like, is that Naruto? Is that who that is? And so I was like, okay, well, so then what was like the craziest thing that you heard from a parent? And she said, okay, well, the craziest thing I heard was that she met a parent who wanted to dress her son up for like this convention that he was going to, and she wanted to help him. And he was like, who you want to be? And he goes, I want to be that character from Stocking and Panties. And she goes, excuse me,
Panty and
what?
stockings, yeah.
Yeah. And so she was like, I don't know what that is, but it sounds very sexual, and I don't what's going on, what? And so she went to my friend Susie, and Susie was like, yeah, don't let him dress as anyone from that show. Because then she has to also get into the whole this anime is good, but then there's also stuff called fan service. There's also stuff that your children probably shouldn't be watching at this point in time.
It's more mature.
Yeah. And so I just thought that was really funny. Like, anime is just becoming a big thing. Like, comic books and all that is becoming a big thing. Did you want to say something?
There's a big thing, I think, with people of I'm gonna out myself a little bit. I'm probably the oldest person on here. I might be fighting for the oldest in the CSS because Soze. I think I'm a couple of months older than Soze. But people in my generation and older think of cartoons as something for kids, and they look at anime in a wide scope as cartoons, and so it's a cartoon. It's like Bugs Bunny, it's like Powerpuff Girls, it should be for kids. And then they put on, I don't know, they're like, oh, they like swords and fantasy, so let's put on Berserk, because that's that. Oh, wait, that's a bad thing. Or just even what happened with Goblin Slayer a couple of weeks ago when it aired, and it looks cutesy and cartoony, and everyone's like, yay, fantasy thing, and oh my god, that's not what this is.
They forgot to put a warning.
Do you know about Goblin Slayer, Platt? No? Should we explain?
No.
Well, let's explain it. Goblin Slayer is about a goblin slayer. Boom, done. But in the first
All right.
episode, it follows a little 16-year-old girl who's a priestess. She just became like an official priestess, and she wants to join a guild, and she does. But for the first group of people that she teams up with, they go hunt goblins, and they're very underleveled. So basically, they all die, but their deaths are very gruesome. And then one girl actually gets raped, I think, at one point, or something
Is
like that.
underleveled a saying, or is there levels in this?
There are levels
No,
in it.
it's
So
it's
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 like
it's
like
it's
a video
presented
game?
it's presented very much as like a real life D&D type thing.
D&D, yeah.
And these are
Okay.
like inexperienced newbie adventurers that
Like-
how hard
like
could it be to go fight a bunch
Level
of goblins?
1, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a few things to add to the conversation. I think that there's a difference between saying something like we're way further ahead in terms of mainstreamness as we were like 20 years ago or, even 10 years ago. But I wouldn't consider anime mainstream by any stretch of the imagination still. I'd consider like animes that are like, oh, My Hero Academia, it's almost like mainstream. Dragon Ball Z, all right, yeah, people know that. People know of Pokemon. People know of like Naruto sometimes. Like, so I think there are shows that could be considered mainstream, but anime as a whole doesn't, to me, in the culture, doesn't feel like it's lost its stigma. At least,
don't think
definitely
so?
not
Not yet?
completely. No, I still think we're like, I know literally zero people that watch the seasonal animes. Like when shows come out, they watch it. And if someone I've heard about a guy that like watches it, and it's like people think that person's weird if they watch. Like, what do you mean? It's like every few months, like a show comes out. It's like, oh, it's the summer or whatever shows. Like, yeah, I just watch each of the episodes, see which ones I like, which ones stick, which ones don't. And that's like weird. Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't feel that way because I'm much more into the anime world, but I could see the perception of it is much like it's still like an odd thing in most people's eyes. So I still don't think we're in a mainstream thing. People, at least in America, I don't think we are.
For sure, it's not. You're not going to have office people that are sitting around and discussing the latest episode of Konosuba, as opposed to the latest episode of, I don't know, is Survivor still a thing?
Yeah,
The Walking Dead.
Well,
Or Walking Dead. There we go. So I mean, it's not that level yet, but it's definitely getting there.
Yeah.
It's moving in the right
it's
direction.
more as
for
it is
sure.
now than it was like when I was in university. That's where I got introduced to anime at large, and it was a once a week sci-fi group that watched it off of VHS tapes that one guy had collected and were all fans up. Like, it has come a long way from that, and that's only like 14 years ago.
Yeah,
mhm.
I mean, there's no doubt everything's moving in the right, quote unquote, right direction. But it's still like the difference between it's just easy to see. Like if I went to like a coworker or a random person on the street, that's even like 5 years older than me, maybe 10 years older than me, and I asked them about even some as popular as like My Hero Academia, the chances of them, one, knowing what it is small. Two, taking it's like, oh, this is a really good show. It's anime. You should watch it. Is even smaller. As opposed to if I'm just like, football, they'll be like, oh yeah, the footballs are throwing the sports and I know every stat of everything ever. It's just like
That's
completely
amazing to me.
different. It's completely different culturally still. And I think in another 10 years, it'll be more so accepted, but there's still, again, a huge swath of people that think of cartoons, and it's not hard to understand why. It's because they've never watched it, and in a sense it is a cartoon, but they're thinking of a bunch of one-ups, like things that are like, here's an episode of Bugs Bunny, here's an episode of Dexter's Lab, and here's an episode of SpongeBob. Even though it's funny and people get it, and it's like, older people like it, it's still like a bunch of self-contained things. They don't think of it as a continuing narrative that's told over multiple seasons and things like that. Plus, like, I mean, I could talk about why I like anime, but that's not what the question is.
No, and I want to know, why do you like anime?
Well, I mean, there's lots of reasons. Mostly because you could do things in anime that you just can't with people. You know, you could have shows about superheroes fighting each other, basically. I mean, you could do that in a movie, I guess, with that. But I'm saying, like, on a low budget, you could have a bunch of shows come out with different kinds of gimmicks. You know, it's like, oh, this guy can control blood with his mind. And now you have a whole series about why this one guy can't be controlled. And so you can do all these cool special effects that is just not realistic to do on any kind of like with real people thing without it looking stupid, you know?
Yeah.
So you could do all these extreme over the top things that you just can't get out of it. I don't think anime is particularly talented at making unique narratives. I think they just have freedom. They don't have the limitations of special effects, so they could do things that other shows just are like, we can't go into that realm of absurdity because there's no way to represent it on screen.
Right.
So I think that's its overall core strength.
What do you mean absurdity? I think that 10-foot tall bunnies that eat humans like shish kebabs is totally easy to do. I don't know.
Like they're gonna come out with an Attack on Titan movie.
Yeah,
I'm
like-
sure it's
mean,
gonna look stupid.
It's
But-
actually in the works. There is a live action. There's a Japanese
actually
one,
two. There's two
And-
Japanese ones, and they're both awful.
and there's an American one coming out as well.
yeah. But like it's still, even though there are these like examples like, oh, they're coming out with these movies, the amount of time, resources, and effort that has to be pushed in to make it not look stupid, and the amount like they're trying to get a huge return on it by being this unique thing and trying to push technology to its limits. It's so much different than just be like, hey, we have a guy that's an artist and he could do this whole show, you know, at this much per hour. Like it just, the amount of it's just so easy to do in an anime form, and so they have this creative freedom to do all these, you know, crazy things that you just can't represent in other mediums.
I feel that's like slowly changing though, because a lot of movies are starting to become a little bit more like they are taking it further with like the special effects one. Like I know I love Pacific Rim also, like has a lot of big effects and a lot of like kind of things that you would only see in anime happening in it.
That
And that
Evangelion movie that isn't Evangelion.
yes, and like also with like the Transformer movies as well, like those things that you wouldn't really normally see in a movie or in TV shows that you would typically see in an anime, which Transformers also was a cartoon. That you're starting now to see more movies. I think that's becoming not a new normal yet, because we're still just seeing it. But I think we're approaching that kind of level.
Netflix has that on lock right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say anime has become much more popular because of Netflix, right?
Yeah,
Because
Netflix
of
is
streaming
original-
services.
Yeah,
And so I
Netflix
think
and
that's done a lot.
Crunchyroll.
Like My Hero Academia wouldn't be as popular if it wasn't so easy to find on everything. Because now word of mouth can travel faster when you don't need to sign up for, or you go look for it. You don't need to go to watchanime.net or whatever to find the show that you already heard about. You could just it could walk into your view at this point because of these streaming services.
Oh yeah, and it's also much easier to come across too, because likewise, I know growing up with like Pokemon, a lot of people just discovered it by turning on the TV, and My Hero is actually being aired on what is it, Toonami or Adult Swim? Not Adult Swim,
Yeah.
Toonami. Yeah.
Toonami is good, but that I think that they got our generation into it more. Like our parents' generation kind of missed it a little bit.
Like block watching anime, the whole entire neighborhood at like
Yep.
4 p.m. after
It
school.
kind of like it got
Yeah.
us, like, right, it got everyone in our relative age group. Steve Bloom as the robot, you know, and so that, you know, now most of us know Samurai Champloo, or if I don't even know that's how you say it, I've only read it, or like Cowboy Bebop,
That's correct.
Dragon Ball Z,
Mhm.
Inuyasha, things like that are a
Really
lot of
not
times, a lot of us, and even like Naruto, a lot of us can, you know, say Toonami is kind of like the roots of a lot of that.
Yeah, true. And for kids TV, unfortunately.
Yeah, you know, the Yu-Gi-Oh show, you know, I like that.
Yeah, I guess.
I like that they don't follow the rules. I think it makes it way more interesting. Again, I don't like the card game.
What does Pot of Greed do again?
You know what? That card's been banned so long. It's like early Yu-Gi-Oh is so guilty of just making the most bull crap cards. It's like I really don't think they planned for it to be popular or to be like go anywhere, because they just made cards that are just like they hurt themselves from the start. But I don't need to talk about card games, but it's just I hate that game.
Oh my gosh. Do you guys know about Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0 at all?
No.
No, sir.
It is
No.
literally just before the card games part of Yu-Gi-Oh. So season 0 is just about him finding the puzzle, making the puzzle, and then when he makes it, when the actual spirit comes out and takes control of him, he plays people in games that aren't. It's not card games. It's just random games, but it's usually life or death.
Of course, I mean, it wouldn't be Yu-Gi-Oh if it wasn't life or death.
But it's not. No, it's not Shadow Realm life or death. It's literally like he will die because of a gunshot kind of death.
Nice. Well, apparently, in Japanese, the original, there's no such thing as the Shadow Realm. That was completely added to the American version.
Because kids can't be like, oh no,
the Shadow Realm is actually just death. But the 4 kids is like, no, they need to have their soul lost in the Shadow Realm. So they had to like change the entire show to make it so it could be okay for American audiences.
I love how dark anime can get sometimes. Like when you have
That seems scarier to me.
It is. Yeah, when you switch some Japanese over to like the English dub and everything, there's like certain channels that can't talk about death like that, so they have to change it up a little bit. And I find it awesome whenever I like see the English dub show and then switch over to like Japanese version of it and just see how much darker it got or it can get, and I get all happy. It's really fun.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I mean, I think anime overall, it's weird. It has the extremes, right? Like they have the things always work out a little too conveniently side things where you already like it's so predictable, like
Friendship
the Dragon Ball Z, where you just know it's. Or guess what? Does Goku win? But then you do have the other side where the shows probably get darker than most anything on average here, at least. I think I'm trying to think like the darkest animes I've seen have been darker than the quote unquote darkest normal stuff I've seen probably.
It's like what you said. It's like what you said before, where they don't have like the limitations of having to use like a bunch of the random special effects to make something look scary or good, so because of that, I guess in our brain we can't fathom what's going on. We can fathom it, like we see what's going on, but we can't fathom it ever happening to us in real life, so it gets a lot scarier or darker that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, again, I just think you have a lot more creative freedom in the anime space.
Yeah, I think there's I think the way anime is produced is in Japan is very different than how TV is produced here. In North America, there's a handful of corporate broadcasters that are the ones that make TV, and corporations are very risk adverse. And they tend to do what they think is safe, and they don't like putting out product that they think is super risky. Whereas anime, in my estimation, is much more controlled by smaller animation houses that can make what they want to make as opposed to what some corporate entity tells them that they should make. It's not to say that there isn't stuff out there that is very much designed by committee, but there's a lot more this is a passion project and this is what I want to make that gets to TV.
Sorry.
I think one of the things holding anime back, in my opinion, of becoming mainstream faster is this might be an outsider's perspective, but I think there's a larger percentage of anime shows that come out that are just not very good or not interesting. There's just a lot of like slice of life stuff that people just don't care about. A lot of things that are just tropes, things that are like they'll sell to their audience, but they're not trying to capture new people. And for the most part, you could watch an average show on like almost anything on like HBO or most shows on Netflix. You're like, this is pretty good. Like I can enjoy it. And I don't think I can get that with anime. I would never watch a random show unless I've seen reviews, gotten recommendations from friends that like it, because I know most of the time I'm not going to like the show going in. For probably, I don't know, we could even go upwards of like 70, 80% of anime I probably would not like.
And I think North America has a stigma on it. Not necessarily us or anyone who's here watching on Twitch, but the general populace, like we've said, look at it as a cartoon. They look at it as Bugs Bunny, and you grow up and there's a point where most people are told, cartoons are for little kids. You should stop doing little kid things and start doing grown-up things. Yeah. And because, the populace looks at it and goes, oh, it's a cartoon, they immediately dismiss it. Even though that there are animated series out of Japan that have the storytelling emphasis on par with some of the best stuff that's on North American TV.
They have commercials over there, like McDonald's commercials, where it's like Goku's charging up, and then it's like, "Hey, buy these fries. They're delicious."
Just to add on that statement, I personally have never lived there, but I do watch a lot of like YouTubers and a lot of people that do live in Japan, and actually a big stigma over there too is just like here in America, anime isn't actually really supported there either. Like a lot of people that watch and especially a lot of them read manga more. A lot of people that read manga and are actually frowned upon because it is seen as being childish. They have a very strong work ethic. So if you're spending any time not studying, not working, not really doing what to them is their normal society, it's also actually frowned upon.
Yeah, there's a reason otaku,
Yeah.
meaning a geeky subculture is a derogatory term in both languages.
Yeah, no, it's still very much, especially in Japan as well as America, treated as something that is supposed to be for children. And once you reach adulthood, once you're going to college, your main thing should be your studies, not reading fantasy, not doing anything of the anime otaku nerd kind of culture kind of thing.
Which is probably why it's super rare to see protagonists that are older than high school age.
Mm-hmm.
Because their target market is high schoolers.
And that's like shonen, right? Like that already has the stigma, you know.
Yeah.
And that's funny because that's the kind Americans kind of are like into. Like how many animes that aren't shonen have ever been popular here? Like,
right.
like almost virtually zero.
And fights and guns and stuff.
Yeah,
that's all America.
It's because shonen anime and shonen manga are just geared towards young boys, and 99% of North American TV is geared towards boys. So it's a really easy translation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of just the issue of every time there's like a good show that comes out, like an absolutely like amazing show like One Punch Man or an amazing show like My Hero, things like that. There's like, 20 shows that are just fit every trope that an American negatively stigmatizes that also comes out. And so it's easy for when you're like going through even the streaming services, you'll see like a show that you're like, I have no interest. Maybe it's cool, but why would I have interest? Because you're comparing it to all these other things you've seen that, like the fan service stuff is pretty prevalent in the community.
Nana said something here. He said the stigma is worse in the military. We get harassed hardcore. Yeah, I imagine in the military, it's like a whole lot worse there because, I don't want to assume military stuff because I've never been in the military, but I'm assuming anything that's not having to do with grown-up stuff is like, what are you doing,
Two points to that. I agree that probably like if you watch anime regularly, you'd be like just normal stuff. You'd probably be maybe not targeted, but that would be a trait that they would call out on you a lot and they'd make fun of you for that trait. But like my friend in the military, for example, every single person, he's like, I know, like every person I know, and with the exception of one or two, watches Dragon Ball Z. Like they love Dragon Ball Z. Like that is their shit. They're all in that.
In 10 years' time, look, try to like encapsulate and remember this conversation and where everything is now. And in 10 years' time, take a look at where it is, and I almost guarantee you that anime will be much more prevalent and gaming will be much more prevalent in 10 years because that's the time it's going to take for the kids that are in high school now to become the ones that are actually controlling and making the media that is on TV. And you'll just see it grow because they're the ones who are into it now, and it'll just keep expanding and keep exponentially growing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, gaming still has the same stigma, right? Like grow up, quit playing games. Like my brother's like, when are you going to get out, stop playing games and grow up? And, but that's much less than the anime one. I feel like, like, especially like Fortnite, things like that. I think video games are I would call them mainstream at this point. But even then there's still like a stigma as, a 26-year-old, then I'll be a 30-year-old or hopefully a 40-year-old. And I'm still going to be playing games every week, without fail. And so there's still going to be like my boss is like, what do you mean you just like play games like on your weekend? I'm like, that's what I want to do on my weekend. I want to play games. They're like, all right, I want to go camping. I'm like, well, you sound like the dumb one to me. People used to camp all the time and we built houses because it sucked. We wanted to stop doing it.
Because my idea of a good time is laying on the ground where ants live.
It's like, yeah, it's like, well, at least we can't shower or use the restroom comfortably, so it's not all bad.
Sorry.
Then they get up and they'll go get food from like a restaurant. It's like, this is it's cheating. It's cheating. You can't leave the camping to go get food.
You find your food like a real camper.
That's right.
Man, camping.
Nanachi gang, apparently their grandma plays Rainbow Six.
Nice.
That is hard.
Yeah, there are those
Real
exceptions.
camper.
You'll see an occasional old person,
It's an awesome grandma.
a person that's older than you would expect, like playing a game. Then they're just like into it. That's like their life. Like there's a lot of like older guys that really like World of Warcraft and older girls that like World of Warcraft. And they've been playing it for like 10 years, and it's like that's really cool to see.
My dad loves
but-
Tekken.
Tekken, dude,
Yeah,
that's a good choice.
He loves it so much. He used to take me to the arcades and he'd play it. It's really good memories.
Is he good?
I don't remember.
Oh, that means yes, he's very good.
My dad, when I was like playing a God of War game, he would just watch me play games all the time. Like he never really played it himself, but he always watched me and my little sister play video games. And one day I was like, I'm stuck on this puzzle. I can't do this God of War puzzle. I don't know what's wrong with me. And he looks at it for like 4 seconds, and he goes, "Oh, just put that over there and put that over there, and then put that there, and you're done." And I'm like, "What? Huh?" And then I did it, and I'm like, "Get out my room, Dad." Yeah.
Like back quickly on the topic of anime.
Yeah.
One like I think like I know I made the point that every time a stereotypical thing that I don't like about an anime comes out, or like my dad would look at and thinks negatively of anime comes out, hurts the overall culture. I think the opposite. Like when that show comes out that's good, it does so much more in the positive direction than it does in the negative direction. Like I think a show that helped a lot in the overall push is Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? It aired on Nickelodeon. It's that show that's like, it's perfect. It is so much for kids, but it is so much more than that as well. It's that show that struck that perfect balance. It's one of my favorite shows, period, of all time.
I got
Even,
Zuko
like,
here.
Oh, there you go.
And so like I know people that are like, you know, in their 40s that are like, I love Avatar: Last Airbender. Like my kids watched it, I would watch it with them, and now they bought the DVDs because they like rewatching it because it's just like a great show. And I think things like that as they come out really do help push the culture forward. And good on Nickelodeon, even though they kind of screwed over Korra, like still good on them for at least giving it a shot.
After doing Last Airbender, trying to top that would be very difficult. To be fair.
I say I want to say Korra is really good, but they aired it like online. Like you had to go online to find the episodes. It didn't air on their network.
Well, it went online first, and then it went on their network for the first 2 seasons, and then after that they stopped doing that. Which I don't know.
Which you just said. It was such a good that show. I think I might like Korra more even.
And one of Korra's other problems is that the network wouldn't guarantee them time. So that's why every season feels almost like they're like, well, maybe this is an end. Oh, no, here's more story. And maybe this is an end. Oh, no, here's more story. It's because they wouldn't, unlike when they did Avatar, they were like, you have 3 seasons, tell a story. And they didn't have that in Korra, so they have to like compact and rush everything all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think they didn't have enough support for what they needed, but I think they did amazing work. Like I really like Korra. I think that show's phenomenal.
It's always a shame when like your company or your people that you're working for, when you're making a show, don't give you the support that you need to make the show good. Like give you the time and energy. I understand it's time. You can't waste somebody's time, but like there are so many different shows that would probably be a lot better if they had more time to do it, or if they had more people to work on it. And the only show that comes to my mind right now, I'm sure there's more. One is Steven Universe, because Steven Universe is a good show, but like flatlining kind of good show, where it's like it's predictable, but I watch it anyway because I watch it because I think it's fine. It's not amazing, but the Cartoon Network they don't give Steven Universe I don't know the word. What's the word? They don't give Steven Universe the care that they give to other shows, like Adventure Time.
Yeah, I mean, well, in their defense, I guess Adventure Time has been so big for so long that that's like their cash cow,
And I get
right?
that.
And so
Mhm.
they don't want to, they're not going to interfere with that. But yeah, those are two shows that were both pretty darn popular, and they definitely hit it definitely resonated with a lot of people. I think art style has like a huge weight though. Like that show, I don't think Steven Universe ever had a chance of becoming hugely mega popular just because people would look at it and see cartoon and then they would tune it out, tune out mentally.
Yeah, it's true.
And sometimes, that's reality. People are gonna make a face judgment of something. Like I haven't watched Steven Universe because it's another thing. I looked at it and I was like, it doesn't look like something I want to watch. And so if I have to watch something for 2
episodes,
yeah, if I have to watch something for 2 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, get through a full season, but then it's like it becomes the best show. It's like no one's gonna make that jump, or at least very few people will.
Mhm.
So,
yeah.
do you guys have anything close to you they could do show and tell? Like, yeah, like I know you have stuff behind you, Vaughn, but like oh, I have this anime on DVD. It's my favorite. It might be fun to do a quick show and tell while we're on the topic of anime.
Yeah, I mean, I got all the Inuyasha movies right here.
Oh, yeah, like your most proud, your
Blu-ray
most
FMA
cool-
Brotherhood stuff.
Dude, I got mine signed by Vic Mignogna.
Nice.
Yeah, I got to meet him, and the side effect though, the one downside is that I was a big fan of League of Legends at the time, and he voiced
that's immediately a downside.
Yeah, so he voiced one of the characters in League of Legends, and so I had him sign my Full Metal Alchemist thing with the quote from that character, and now I look at it, I'm like, League of Legends sucks, but it's still a cool thing though.
Oh, absolutely.
He's wearing purple pants, that guy was freaking dope.
I actually was able to get a picture with him last year. I was at Anime NYC and I cosplayed as Edward Elric, and he was there.
Very nice.
Yeah, and I got a picture with him, and it was very just surreal, like cosplaying a character, trying to embody a character, and then taking a photo with literally probably the person aside from the Japanese voice actor that feels like they embody that character, like that character is theirs because they voice their voice for not just one full anime, but for two, because Full Metal Alchemist has the original that kind of took its own spin during the latter half, and then Brotherhood, which kind of stuck more to the manga. He played Edward Elric in both, so it was a pretty special character.
I was not going to watch Brotherhood because it came out so much later, but they're like, oh, we're going to get the voice actors. I'm like, what?
Yep.
Well, I got to say there's two shows, period, that I prefer in English and as opposed to Japanese, and that's one of the two.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to voicing anime, especially the English dubs, a lot of like the 90s and earlier animes did a really good job at just capturing interesting voices that was still very appealing to listen to. Like I know with like Cowboy Bebop, it's got some like Spike Spiegel's voice. It's very interesting to listen to. It's not something that you hear normally in anime because it's got a bit of like an American accent to it.
I might actually like that one more in English too.
Yeah. And then there was a bit of a dip, I feel like, with a lot of voices. I'm not really sure what happened, like the mid 2000s. But I feel like now with like the Funimation simul dub, which basically after an episode airs, about a week or two later, they'll immediately release the English dub. I think it's been getting progressively better.
I don't even test the English anymore. Like like My Hero Academia, I just like I couldn't like I watched like a few episodes in Japanese, and then once I hear something and then I hear a different thing, it doesn't even matter if it's quality. It just doesn't sound right to my ears anymore. Plus, grape juice sounds terrible in English.
And that's completely fair. I feel like, again, to a lot of people, for me, mostly when I listen to English nowadays, if I'm gonna watch an anime in English, it's purely for convenience. Because the only time I have to watch anime is typically when I'm eating, and eating while trying to read is a skill I haven't mastered yet.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
if an anime has come out as an English dub, I'll try my best to listen to it. But if there's a voice that I'm not really enjoying, then I'll watch the sub. No hard feelings towards either.
I will say within the anime community, right? Like watching English dub is you're kind of the scrub. Like that's a stigma that a lot of people have that like anime.
Yeah,
maybe we don't, but people be like, "Well, you're watching it in English."
That was always a huge stigma where if you watched a dub, you weren't considered like a true anime believer or things like that's a little unfair because
do you say manga or manga? Get out of here, you weeb, fake weeb wannabe.
Because again, there's a lot of voice actors that, they put their a lot of hard work into the voices. These characters are precious to them. They put a lot of hard work in it. It's nice to enjoy that, but obviously if you just don't like a voice, then you don't like a voice. But I think to immediately criticize the English voices, especially a lot of people that don't even listen to them, it's a little unfair.
I will
I
say
think it's
sometimes the
gotten a
Japanese
lot.
voice.
No, go ahead, Brady.
You
Go
go.
ahead, Blatt.
No, I insist. I've talked enough.
I think the stigma grows out of the fact that when anime was starting to come here, what you got in English was not what was in Japanese. The dialogues were completely changed. The inflections were completely changed. The meaning
The
of
translations,
the
yeah.
scenes, yeah, the translations were totally different. So I think that oh, you listen to the dubbed version, you should do the subtitled ones. Come out of that, I want to watch what the creator originally intended and not whatever some North American company figured I should be listening to.
But then
The
the
Shadow
argument,
Realm problem, right?
the argument
Yeah.
though for that could also be made then if you want to watch the original of what the creator originally intended, that at that point, why watch anime? Why not go to original source material, which would be either the manga or light novel or whatever it was originally made from.
Well, at the time, I don't think that there was an option to do that. I think you can now, but I don't think you could
Back
before.
then you couldn't.
You
Yeah,
know,
back
I
then,
mean,
like even
the-
shows were on Tommy.
The
It's the same thing. You just couldn't. Sorry, go ahead.
lagging a little bit there, Ace.
Yeah, I was gonna say your
Oh.
video and voice are lagging.
Dang
But
it.
like the first two anime that I can recall and know for a fact they are Japanese cartoons were Voltron and Samurai Pizza Cats, and neither of those in North America are anything like what they are in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. Yeah, I don't know much about the history of like early anime because it just wasn't part of my like the earliest is like Cowboy Bebop, right? Like I've never seen like Lupin or I don't even things like Case Closed. I don't know how old those go, but those are my ideas of like older shows.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I will say my least favorite thing about anime in general, and one thing that like when I find out it's like, oh, we're gonna do a season of a show, and like, all right, it's cool, but then they're not gonna be renewed for any more seasons. They want you to pick up the manga. I'm like, I'm not watching it. Then that's what you get. And I had it happen on like one or two shows where I watched. It's like, oh, when's the next season come out? It's like, oh, they're not doing that. They just want you to watch or to read the manga or whatever afterwards. I'm like, well, I'm not. So I guess that's that. And so that's one thing that can suck because you don't get closure. But sometimes it's even worse when they do fake closure, like in
Yeah.
Blue Exorcist. They're like, this ends, but everyone knows it really doesn't. So they have to write. It's like, all right, we got 3 episodes. Write an ending to this multi-hundred episode thing. Like, all right, it just happens. It just ends. Blue Exorcist was okay, by the way.
So you're saying everyone should watch Blue Exorcist?
No, I would not recommend it, but I'll say that I still kind of liked it. There's very few animes I would like recommend to someone, and they would only be ones that are like again, it depends on their level of involvement in the anime world. Like someone that's watched a lot of anime, it will have already seen Death Note, will have already seen things of that caliber that I consider to be ridiculously good, even if you don't like anime. But someone like people that I'm like, oh, I don't like anime, I don't watch them. I'm like, try these 2 shows, see if you like them. They're different flavors, but they also could be indicative of what's possible in this realm.
Mm-hmm.
That would be like, what would be if you could recommend one show to somebody that doesn't like anime or says they don't like anime? What would it be?
It depends on what genres they like.
Yeah.
I can't just be like, hey, you should totally watch Death Note because Death Note is not something for everybody, Or
I think I might disagree. I think it might be for everybody.
I mean, okay.
I think Death Note.
If it made
it's
Brotherhood
rough.
would be pretty high on my list.
Yeah, Brotherhood's way up there. That one's pretty
Yeah.
good.
It's easy to get into. It's not. It doesn't get super jargon filled. It's moves along at a pretty decent pace, and it has
Has
a definite
maturity.
story it wants to tell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most important thing for a show like that is that it will subvert. I think a show having moments of darkness that you don't expect is really something that would break someone's mentality of the cartoon thing. Like just having like even like something like Dragon Ball Z, that's just a cartoon to most people, like and most Americans. It's just like a cartoon that comes from Japan. But something like FMA, right? They have some incredibly dark moments. I think Death Note has some incredibly dark moments. I mean, the show in general is kind of a dark show. But, yeah. But any show that could show you that it's like this isn't what it could subvert your expectations, I think is hugely important.
I can agree with that.
Choosing Death Note's definitely up there.
Yeah, Brotherhood's a good one. I wasn't thinking about that one, but that one's pretty good. Plus, it's one you could easily watch in English and get very, very quality voice actors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not watching Death Note in English. You're not making me do it. It's not going to happen.
I already did. What do you guys think about about different video game companies trying to make video games out of different anime shows? Like, you think they've been successful so far in doing that? I can't think of any examples where they have been successful, except for Naruto.
I'll say they've been successful, but not. It depends on what your term of successful is. They've been profitable and they're happy with their outcome, but it's not like we've broken the code.
Yeah, no, I think it's mainly been profitable because of the whole like culture of like fandoms and whatnot. Like if you really love an anime, like you're gonna want to purchase everything in relation to that fandom. So with like DBZ, everyone buys all the fighting games. It may not be the best fighting games, but you still enjoy it because it's got the characters, it's got everything that you could kind of want because it just supplements the love you already have for that anime.
I mean, I think Dragon Ball Z Fighters is a pretty good video game, but it's just
Dragon Ball Z is probably the best example of a good game that also just happens to have an overall cultural like importance.
Mm-hmm.
I think generally you end up with one of two things. Specifically about anime adaptations, you either end up with a fighting / brawler game, like that new one that's coming up that's like every character from Shonen Jump.
Yes.
Jump Force.
Jump Force.
Yeah, Jump Force.
Oh, yeah.
So you end up with something like that, or you end up with them trying to do like a direct adaptation of a manga or an anime into a video game. And any direct adaptation, it doesn't matter what the source material was. If you try to adapt into a video game, it's going to be bad because you have to pad it out with gameplay segments. Otherwise, you are just in a walking novel. And they don't work.
What about that? What are those games? The one with the bear that's white and black. Cut down the middle. That's like about murders. Dong Pong Rampa. Is that any anime base or is that 100% video game?
I think it was originally a video game, and then it's been was it a graphic novel?
I think it might be a game first, and then everything else has come after.
Yeah.
But anything, take anything like there's a Legend of Korra game, and it's not good, and it's because they took story beats from the show and whatever, and then they tried to shove gameplay in between the story beats. The only time you get an adaptation that works out is when you build it from the ground up to be a game. If you try to make something else into a game, it usually doesn't work.
Yeah.
Vaughn, you wanted to say something before?
That was made by Platinum, though, too, right? Like Platinum Games made the Legend of Korra game. That's crazy because they're like very quality studio too.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say before, I don't think many people have had much experience with this one, but there was a Inuyasha game that it wasn't a direct adaptation of anything that was made, but it was an original kind of concept. They basically added like a new story to Inuyasha where another girl kind of experiences the same thing that the main character did, where she ends up in the feudal era. She's kind of lost, she meets the Inuyasha gang, and it's kind of an original story that was built in that game. And I personally really enjoyed it because you got, again, additional material. This is new material too. And it was very interactive because you still followed along on the journey, and it was prioritized to kind of make connections with the other characters, and then it was fighting sequences as well. So any characters that you made a good connection with, you could combo your attacks with them, and it was just a really, really pleasant, kind of original game because it didn't take any source material from the show other than like the original characters, but the plot and story itself was very original, and I think more games should kind of do that.
I totally agree.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I agree.
a good idea. Like, you don't need to have something canon for it to be an enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
Like, you have all people in general that like these things are already in love with these characters and the overall narrative direction, like just the way they write the show. And so just having its own, one of that's like, oh, it's like a 20-hour story or something. And then then it's just gone. It's like contained and it's not canon. Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of what anime movies are, right? Some of them are canon, but they're not. And they're just
Some,
enjoyable
yes.
for us to watch. Like, even the My Hero one is canon, but sure, it's not like it is. But no one's ever talked about it. It's like, yeah, the new Academia movie is canon, but the fact that we've already seen past it and no one ever talks about all this crazy shit that happened, no one ever references it. It's essentially in the show it didn't happen, even though it technically did.
I think Naruto actually did a lot of that. I'm pretty sure most of the movies are supposed to be canon, but the events are never mentioned ever in the anime.
I think if they say it's not canon, people will be like, I don't want to see something that's not canon, and I do think that's an issue. People should just want to see cool narratives.
The exact same thing with Inuyasha 2. Inuyasha had 4 movies, none of which are ever mentioned in the animes, but they're still considered to be a part of the show, a part of kind of the story timeline and everything.
Not to mention One Piece. One Piece with like 13 million movies. Just actually, no, some of those movies are just retellings of what happened in the anime, actually. So they're not really movies. They're just...
I thought for a good 30 seconds, I was like, maybe One Piece has been going on. People still like it. Maybe I'll give it a shot. And then I saw the newest episode. It's like Luffy fights a man with mochi powers. I'm like, no, they're out of ideas. They've been out of ideas for 700 episodes, and they're gonna just keep doing it.
No, what's funny is that not to get into any spoiler territory for any One Piece fans out there, but Oda, the person that makes the manga, already knows how it's going to end. He said that
that's what my friend told me.
Final chapter and everything, so he knows he knows how it's supposed to end. But I don't think how he knows how he doesn't get there yet.
It's because they're gonna make it up. He said he's like 40% done with the story or something like that.
Oh, now he's like 70% done with the story.
Every single time something like it's too easy just to add 6 seasons of just filler. They're like, all right, this time they're going to a Halloween themed place, and this guy has pumpkin powers in this Halloween town. Like, all right, they could maybe they've done that. I don't know.
We're far off from when.
But I'm saying, like, they could create a thing and they could put it in the thing and people will watch it. And part of it's comforting. People want that.
That's kind of like just the whole like fandom culture. Like even if they give you something that's like less than stellar, like you still want it, and a part of you will still enjoy it. And I think that's just kind of what happens when you love something so much.
Yeah, that's me in One Piece, all right.
You just need, at a point when you really like this thing and you're disinvested, you want it to keep going. All you need is the illusion that there's a reason that it's going to keep going. Is like, if My Hero Academia has 6 seasons from now and he's still getting 1% stronger at a time, I am now in 67%. Next season he'll be 68% of his strength. If they keep doing things like that, as long as they like do their little hand waving, it's like, yeah, there's a reason for it to keep going. Then I'm like, yeah, I'll watch this for 2,000 episodes because I love that show.
Yeah, it's a good show.
The big thing I think Hero Academia has going for it is most shonen stuff have the I'm growing in power thing. Dragon Ball did it and all of this stuff. But they always have their protagonist ultimately win in a decisive way. And Deku hasn't. He's won fights, but he never wins in a decisive way. And I think that's the big thing that it does differently. It's willing to let him lose, and it's willing to give him a win, but he has to really work for it.
Yeah, and partially into the spoiler territory, but not really, but because you kind of know. But we'll just say spoiler mode. That as you get, like, one of the things that makes it gripping, I think, comparatively to normal shonen early on, besides just the wide cast of characters, is that Deku is not Goku, right? He's not this character that is going to win. Like, if anything, All Might is, right? he's not.
He's the Superman
like,
of the show.
Yeah, he's basically like our main character is one. He's already not the most interesting in my opinion, but he's also not the strongest. Like most main characters are. Even like in Naruto, there are other characters, but Naruto always manages to win decisively. And Deku, I feel like he gets saved a lot of times in these situations. And now we're at the point where the guy that was the strongest apparently isn't going to be able to do anything anymore. And so now that's like, what's going to happen? Who's going to do what?
Mm-hmm.
We all know All for One's not gone.
Yeah,
Spoilers for an episode that aired several weeks ago. They finally reached their point where Deku and Bakugo had their face-off, and this is a typical thing in shonen where you have the hero and his antagonist, butt heads over something, and it usually results in the two of them splitting off and going their separate ways. The hero will win the fight, and then all of this stuff. Deku lost that fight, and he and Bakugo are actually closer than where they were before the fight. And this is not something shonen does. This is a trope turned on its head.
Exactly. This is not the Naruto Sasuke relationship like at all. It's much more, I think, complicated. It's almost like a Goku Vegeta thing, right? Like if you want to compare it, it's like this adversarial thing, but there's like a love underneath it, but they also won't address it. I like it. It's very good.
I have to get this out real quick. Recently, a few weeks ago, I was talking to somebody about My Hero Academia. He was talking about how he hates Deku with a passion, and so I'm curious. I'm like, why do you hate Deku? Like, I just want to know, right? I'm not trying to fight with you. And he goes, because he thinks that Deku's personality, is awful, boring, and that he shouldn't have never have gotten All Might's powers in the first place. And I'm like, okay, well that's a lot. And he was explaining how he loves Bakugo a lot more because he's like headstrong. He like gets he tries to go get what he wants. He doesn't take crap from anybody. And Deku's like basically the complete opposite in the beginning. And he just hates that. And he wishes that he wishes that Bakugo would go beat up Deku every day because he hates him.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, well, wow.
I think Deku is one of the weaker characters, or at least one of the less likable characters for sure.
Well, Deku's whole thing is that, okay, well, first of all, whenever you watch almost any show, of course you're going to connect more with a person that's more like you, right? The person that I was talking to, who's like very macho, very like in your face kind of person, I was trying to explain that to him and he didn't want to hear any of it. But the whole thing with Deku is that he's growing, right? Like his whole life he didn't have a quirk. His whole life he had to try to find a way to get into a school that he knew he probably was going to get into because he didn't have any power. He looked up to the biggest hero, knowing that he probably would never ever get there. So his whole life
he's Naruto, right?
Yeah,
he never was good at any of the jutsu. I mean, he didn't have the jutsus. He wants to be Hokage.
Yeah, but the difference between him and Naruto is that Naruto was always like never give up. I don't care what anyone says. Deku was like, oh yeah, you guys are probably right, but maybe I can try. Maybe. Yeah. But so I think the whole thing with Deku is that he's dull and he's boring, yes, but that's because he doesn't have his own unique character yet. He's growing into it, He's growing a little bit into it, and like he's getting there.
That's actually somewhere where I have to disagree a little bit, because the reason why I personally really love Deku is because yes, he's the weakest. He is quirkless. But I think one of the things that really attracted All Might to him is that throughout the anime, you constantly see Deku with a little notebook, and every single moment he is studying everybody around him. He is constantly mumbling to himself all of these like strategies that he can come up with, anything that he could possibly think of and study. Like he watches everybody else's quirks and sees like, all right, how can I counteract this? And he's not only observing everyone else, but he's observing himself. And again, bit of a spoiler for the latest season, but he started realizing that he was trying to be too much like All Might, because All Might constantly uses his hands, but that was hurting him. So he kept remembering back to his training with Gran Torino, and he realized that he needed to make his quirk his own. He needed to find a way that he can make it his own, and then he learned that speed would be a good way, and to start using his legs more so that he could power it through there and stop damaging his arms to the point where he'd not be able to use it. And same during like the final tournament, he started again mumbling to himself and realizing how everyone else was moving their quirks, their specialties, and kind of using that to his advantage. So even though yes, he is the weakest, he wasn't always just kind of sitting there be like, yeah, I'll never, become strong. I just have this gift that I was given, and yep, I guess I'll be okay with this. He was always constantly being like, you know what, I can improve. Let me watch everyone else's strengths and see how I can be better too. That's why I like him.
That's one of the things that I like about the writing in that show is if you look at a character like Goku was always super powerful and always super strong. He beat guys up, and then eventually a bad guy comes along that beats Goku, and then you have 20 episodes of Goku lifting weights, and then Goku can beat the bad guy. Goku never grows. He never changes. He's the same character from episode 1 to later. But Deku, he doesn't have immediate mastery over his powers. He gets them and he learns a little bit of something, and then that gives him access to something, a new ability, and then he'll learn something else about himself, and he has room to grow. And I think that's a really good writing decision on the behalf of the creator, that most shonen don't bother. Naruto starts out without any powers. He's just sort of a bumbling kid. But when he does get his powers, he has almost instant mastery of them.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, the show will not end probably with Deku even knowing how to use his powers yet, right? Like that's one of the main narratives of the show is his inability to fully grasp what he's been given. At least that'll be relevant all the way up until the very end.
When in the first episode, he was like, "This is the story of how I became a hero." By the way.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
But who knows? It might be. I still don't know if this show is going to be like 6 seasons or if it's going to be 600 seasons.
Man, I don't even know.
I hope. I prefer if it's going to be like a Brotherhood thing, right? It's got like 52 episodes or something. It's got a longer narrative, but it has a defined end and a path to get there. They haven't wasted a lot of time, which I really like.
Yeah, I was about to mention, considering
the manga's still ongoing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yes. I was gonna say, considering how the writing's been so far, there hasn't been a single filler episode. It's all been very consistent. The plot's been continuously moving, and even the one episode where I thought it was going to be filler was actually just trying to get the viewers to kind of clue you in on that the movie plot. Because I think it was the episode right before the fight between Deku and Bakugo. It seemed kind of random, but it was actually to do with the plot of the movie. It was like setting the stage for the movie, so it wasn't necessarily a filler. It was still very relevant to the story. So I think the writers are doing a phenomenal job at just staying on point, keeping the pace moving, and making sure that they don't lose their audience's interest, which can happen a lot. I feel like Naruto, especially Shippuden, struggled a lot with that.
It was brutal. It was seasons of stuff no one wanted to watch.
Yeah, which was unfortunate because what had happened was that they were running out of the source material. They kept having to continuously wait for it. So that was really unfortunate that they had to run into that, but it did happen, and they did lose a lot of interest because of that.
The issue comes when they have to start coming up with stuff on the fly, right? Like, all right, well, they're not ready yet, so we need to come up with an original thing, and then sometime, maybe it'll be good, but based off history, it's usually much subpar to the actual ongoing narrative. But they've been so precise. They just keep moving.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and that's something to really admire from, again, the writers, especially of the show, is that they're able to keep it moving. I think the only other writing that I've seen that did such a good job with keeping the pace moving, even if source material was running low, this isn't really anime, but with Game of Thrones was moving. The writers were kind of having to deal without the source material and started taking it in their own direction. And even with the more original concepts in Game of Thrones, I think they still did a good job. And it just all comes down to writing, really.
My Hero, I knew was going to be a show that I liked a lot, going forward, when it was the tournament thing, right, earlier on. And I was like, all right, here's a fight. Let's see if this is a one episode. Let's see if it's a 1 episode fight or a 2 episode fight. And it's 4 minutes or something. It's just in and it's out and it's done. Some of the there were longer fights, but a lot of the stuff was just not every character had a full episode. They didn't milk this thing out for so long. The whole tournament, from the race to the end of the show or to the end of the whole thing, it was felt like, I don't remember, it was 6 episodes. Somewhere around there. I don't remember exactly, but it was brief.
Mm-hmm.
It was like,
And you didn't
and I
have
just
10
I had a lot
minutes
of
every
respect for that.
episode. Oh, you didn't have 10 minutes every episode of everyone explaining how their power works.
Because you already know
Yeah.
how their powers work. You don't have to explain it like Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, no, that's something too that was really cool because I know there was an episode they're very good at having a giant cast of characters and not wasting time feeling like they need to explain everybody, but you still enjoy them all because they've had key moments in the show. They were like, I like them.
Mm.
Like I know a lot of people don't like him. I personally don't like him either. The really Mineto, I forget his name. The little
Grape Juice is
purple.
my
Yeah,
favorite
Grape
character
Juice.
in that
Purple
show.
hair.
But he
Grape
didn't
Juice
have
is like number one, man.
he didn't have anything really fleshed out, but he had that one episode where it was really up to him to use his power to save forget who it was while they were fighting on Midnight.
Yeah.
Yep. His buddy got knocked out by the
Yeah.
pheromones.
Yep, and again, like he didn't really have his whole backstory fleshed out, but you were rooting for him in that episode. So they made it about him in a way that didn't feel like they were wasting time with filler or like needless backstory that probably would have been cool, but was just not in relation to what they were currently doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just really nice to see them take that kind of thing, like give him his moment to shine and feel like the audience appreciated that.
I think one
Like,
person
how-
that they still have to do that with is the guy with the laser, the naval
Yeah.
laser.
Yeah, him too.
Yeah,
He only had one moment, but it was like really small, and I think they can do a little bit with him.
He hasn't had much backstory yet, but you kind of
Yeah.
like you understand that he's like kind of like this outcast, but he's also
Yeah.
like makes up for it with the stuff. But like that Mineta episode is the grape juice one. It just like how the show. It could have been so easy for the show just to been like, this is our comedic relief character, right? He's a pervert, and he is. That's his character through and through. But they even like, all right, they took the time for this side character, and they're like, he always felt like a loser, and that like he was never liked by girls, so he wants to be a hero. That way he could like,
Be
you know,
liked
they
by girls.
they justified this, and I think they made a really good decision by giving him his lightning boy. Lightning boy also is like his partner in crime in this erotic quest of theirs, right? So it's not so much like it's an individual creep. It's more of like these are just like young guys, and this is just kind of the phase they're in.
The relationship between Bakugo and Electric Guy and Hardening, their name.
Hard Boy. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know their names. I just go by their quirks. I'm very, very
They
bad
have very
with
unusual
non-English names.
names.
Mm-hmm. But
Like, I can't.
The relationship between them, like, is one of my favorites in the entire show.
Yeah,
Because-
dude, Hard Boy fighting Steel Boy is the one of my. I want to see that every time.
It's a good show. Hey, everyone, go watch My Hero Academia. It's a really good show.
It's quality for sure. I bet everyone's already seen it that would bother watching us, but yeah.
Kaminari's Lightning Guy.
Yeah,
Okay,
go
yeah,
watch it
Kaminari.
again.
Yes, we're still talking about anime. Anyway, so
Yeah, we can move on to a hidden topic.
oh, you want to go to the mystery topic?
Oh, we can. We're approaching the 2-hour mark, and we haven't gotten to our last topic yet, so it might be.
Wow.
We didn't start at 9:00. We started at like 9:30 ish.
Yeah.
But I see what you mean.
We're an hour and a half in. I don't know.
Real quick before we get into the mystery topic, I just want to know.
Yeah.
Gaming news, not a lot of big gaming news. Did you want to mention something about last week's podcast for Red Dead Redemption at all, or you're good?
For me specifically,
Yes.
I'm trying to think. I haven't played it. No, I mean
Okay.
it seems like everyone likes the game.
Cool. Hey, Red Dead Redemption
was
2
worth
is
it.
out. I have not played it at all, and I don't know if any of you guys have, but
I want to play it.
Oh, is Diablo Immortal on the list? That'd be kind of funny. No, it's not. I'm excited to play that.
I was gonna mention that. So BlizzCon was also a thing.
Yep.
They
Yeah.
showed a new character in Overwatch.
Oh my god. I am so excited for Warcraft 3 Remaster. I am so excited. I just bought the game for the first time less than a month ago, and I played it for the first time less than a month ago, and I was playing. I'm like, this is incredible. I had to stop multiple times. I'm like, this game is one of the best like real-time strategy games I've ever played. And then they just announced the new one. I'm ready. Yeah.
Mhm.
Let's go.
So, real quick about the new what's it called Diablo game. It's a mobile game.
Yeah.
And the way they so what happened was during the conference thing for it, they were saying, hey, so we have a new game in the works, you guys ready to see it? And they were like, yeah. And so they were like, it's a mobile game. And the immediate reaction from the crowd was boo, oh my gosh, why'd you do that? and it made people on stage uncomfortable. And the first thing that came out of their mouths on stage was, "What, you guys don't like games on your phone?"
It was like, "What, you guys don't have smartphones?"
Yeah.
Well, and that guy got a lot of criticism for having such like, I don't know, it was kind of like rude, but it was kind of like sassy. But I honestly think it worked. In my view, it worked for him in the other direction, where like I feel like this guy is passionate about Diablo, and he actually does care, and they wants to give it his all in this game.
Mhm.
And I think he was defensive about it. He's like, "You haven't even seen my game yet,
That's
and you're not giving it a chance." And there's no doubt, like he has to do what he's told to a degree, right? I'm sure Blizzard is cash grabbing for
I'm sure this could have been like a side thing in
audience because mobile games are very big in China. But I still think that this guy, this person was they are passionate about this project, and they haven't been given enough respect, I think.
I mean,
although it's
I'm sure,
probably
like,
going to be
people
stupid.
are probably thinking about like a new Diablo is coming, like Diablo 4.
Yeah. Well, I will say
That's what people
Blizzard,
thought was happening.
they screwed up that announcement. It's like they announced that they might bring multiple Diablo projects. They end with it. That's normally like their bombshell, and they put it on this pedestal as this thing, and so yeah, they really screwed up the announcement of it. That should have been something that was like, as people were walking in the convention center, they hand out a pamphlet. It's like, "Hey, new Diablo mobile game's coming out." Like, oh, cool. Like, it shouldn't even been an opening ceremony thing, but
they were
There
excited.
was a comment I saw that they should have handled it the way Bethesda did. At E3, I think it was, Bethesda announced their mobile Blades game or whatever it is, and then had a title card teaser for Elder Scrolls 6, and everyone loved it, and it was a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
Blizzard could have gone and said, "Here's our Diablo mobile thing for our mobile gamers," and then went, "Here's our title card for Diablo, whatever it is," and just left it at that, and people would have been fine.
Yeah, like people don't have to see like anything game wise related. They get to see a title, and they'll be all excited, like, "Oh my gosh, yes, it's actually happening!" Like that's all they had to do.
They literally could have put up a JPEG that said Diablo,
honestly,
quotes unnamed future project, and people would have been fantastically happy with it.
I bet I bet I'm the only one here that's checked the Blades subreddit and forums like once a week to see if the game is out yet. I want to play it so bad. They're like, you could build buildings that'll take real world money. I'm like, hell yeah, Elder Scrolls, Bethesda, anything with an Elder Scrolls skin or a Fallout skin, and I'm a sellout, 100%. I bought 2 copies of Fallout 76.
Oh, because why not?
Because I'm a scum human, and I sold the special edition on eBay for a profit. But
let's see, other news. What happened? I was looking at all the cosplays for BlizzCon. People, I have to say, man, I'm gonna do a whole different podcast on cosplaying, but
BlizzCon is probably one of the biggest conventions in America for cosplayers. Because you have all the giant titles.
Yeah.
Like World of Warcraft, especially the cosplays that come out for that. Oh my goodness. And again, a lot of the biggest cosplayers in the industry, like Jessica Negri and a lot of those girls and guys as well, like that's their convention and those are their games that they love. So they bring out their biggest and best work to those conventions.
I almost forgot Jessica Negri was still a thing.
Yeah, she's still one of the biggest.
I'm very alienated from the possible conversation of cosplay.
It's okay.
I'm not interested. I don't like it.
That's fine.
It's fine. You do.
And I'm upset that you like it. It offends me.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Another announcement they made was Overwatch. They had a new cinematic for Jason McCree. And they have a new character called Ash. I'm noticing a trend where there's like quite a few games where like there's always a ranged shooter female character with white hair named Ash.
That's League. Dota. I don't know if her name is Ash, but they do have a character.
Frost Archer or something still, yeah. It's similar.
Yeah. Does that bother anybody else? Or is that
No.
What,
okay.
the devs are unimaginative and they can't come up with a new name? It
Yes.
doesn't bother me, but it's just sort of like I don't know. It's like seeing a trope in a TV show or something. You're just like, oh, okay,
I guess
that's
so.
what you did.
The only thing I think is I wonder why. I don't think they're out of ideas. They just came out with a hamster wrecking ball character, right? Like a genetically modified hamster that's in a ball and he swings around and he has physics-based movement. So when I see this, one, I don't really care about Overwatch that much, but I'm just like, why did you choose it? Because to me, it doesn't feel like Blizzard would have done it by like mistake. They have to have known the comparison. To me, I feel like this is the character they wanted to make.
Yeah.
And I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but it does not seem to reflect well in their creative department, at least for this character, right?
Did they release?
I guarantee you that they had a concept meeting where they had a rough pencil drawing of the character, and they're like, and they had like 4 or 5 of them. And they're like, we like this look, and we like this name, and that's the character. Now go color it. And it got passed to a colorist, and he did up 6 or 7 different color palettes in that one pencil drawing, and they said, we like this look, and that's the one we're going to go with. And then someone pointed out afterwards, we picked Ash for a name, and we made her hair white, and some CEO went and said, I don't care, do it.
Yeah.
Some CEO. Yeah.
I think they could have gone... Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. No, I was gonna say if like the devs released any notes when she was announced or anything, like behind her conception and stuff.
I'm not sure. Maybe.
I feel like they should have picked a different name or a different character model.
Or you change the hair.
There's an image floating around somewhere that has like 4 or 5 different pencil art drawings in it, which caused an entirely different controversy around Ash. But I'm not gonna bring it up unless you guys want me to.
No,
well, like Overwatch is full of controversy. Like they had to get rid of that tracer thing, right? Like the pose or whatever, tracer pose, and all kinds of things.
Yeah, go ahead if you want to talk about it. Yes.
Everyone is up in arms over Ash. Well, I don't know if up in arms is the right way to put it. Fans are let down that it is yet another white female character because they all share the same body type and it's a white skin tone, and they're like, why couldn't she be a darker skin tone? And when this concept art image went out, there is a concept of her early in development where she has a darker skin tone, and that set the fan base like, why didn't you not take this one, and why did you take this one? And
I don't know.
Okay.
I just feel like
I'm wrong in that, but I feel like Overwatch has probably some of the most diverse like cast of like playable characters, right?
When people see diversity,
they got
they usually see the skin color, but they don't talk about place, because there's a lot of people with light skin tones that are just from different places. And and I think Overwatch, you're right, has a lot of diversity in that regard. So I don't see much.
You lagging again, my friend?
Robot than me again.
Yeah, I would like to know why wouldn't culture. Oh.
Okay, you're back. There you are.
Jeez. I'm sorry. So
no, it's okay.
I would like to see the reason why they changed the color, but like it doesn't bother me that it used to be a darker skin tone and now it's not. It's still a pretty diverse cast. They have robots and a hamster and a ball.
And they have hamsters. They have
a lot of them have interesting backstories. Like Farah, I know Farah's Egyptian. I don't know that much about the lore, but I do know that there are other cultures from around the world represented in Overwatch. I think that's like just the wrong game to point out as lack of diversity.
Yeah, no,
they're probably
that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
So you can go ahead, Don.
Oh no, like I was agreeing with Perplatypus. I feel like if anyone's going to be upset over the lack of diversity, I think Overwatch is the last game really to be upset over with that. Because I can think of so many other games that could probably use a little bit of more diversity in them. So that's why I'm a little shocked at. Like I can understand, if you see old concept where you're like, well, why was she originally thought of this way and then changed to be this way? I can definitely see why people would be upset over that, but to be upset over the lack of diversity in that game, it just doesn't make sense.
I think it very much started as another Caucasian character, oh hum, and then this concept art came out and went, hold on now.
Yeah.
What? And I think that's really what it turned into, but it's just yet another instance of the internet just being
the internet.
The internet.
The two things, Blizzard again, like I think the game is pretty diverse. I think that furthers the point that this is the character they wanted to make. I don't think that they were really like. I am highly skeptical that Blizzard would have looked at a darker skin and a lighter skin and been like, "We want another lighter skin person in the game." I think they were just creating the character they wanted, and this is what they thought fit.
Yeah.
I don't think they were consciously making a decision based off, their tone. One thing I think that the game is not diverse and that I actually do, like, I'm not much of a diversity guy. I don't really care that much, but I do wish there were more body types of the female characters because, right, they are all kind of very
Except for
similar. Like,
one.
I want like the Roadhog, but the female, right? Like, I want I want these big characters, these extreme characters.
There.
Is
females. What's her name?
I'm not very-
But there's like Widowmaker and there's like
Tracer.
Tracer. But I mean, there's
May's
like,
actually not that bulky. I think it's mainly her jacket that makes her look bulky.
Yeah.
but I mean, like, compare someone like,
there is
Roadhog,
the girl with the
Reinhardt,
pink hair
Junkrat.
that's pretty
That's a
blonde.
huge.
I forget her name.
Trying to figure out her name right now.
She has pink hair, but she's
Zarya.
muscular. Yeah, no, she's
Zarya.
Yeah,
muscular.
yeah,
she's
Zyra,
blonde.
Zyra's
Farah.
Zyra's the more the
Farah
outlier.
is like thick, isn't she? She's got like the curves.
Kind of.
No, is it
She has
Farah?
very wide shoulders because of her suit, and she has a
Whoever
jetpack.
has like the I don't want to say telepathy.
I'm just mad that it's not a female Roadhog. Like, I want Bertha. I want big. I want like
That's what it
in
is.
your face giant.
Zyra, yeah.
Tank.
Yeah,
I just feel like a lot of times I'll see is like, oh, this is like, a 120-pound, girl and with a similar body style to this one and this one and this one. And when the guys, like the guy characters come out, they're all over the place, from like Reaper, who's like a normal guy, then Reinhardt, and then Roadhog, and then Junkrat, who's a scraggly little guy. I just feel like there's a much larger diversity in body types among the males than the females.
That's a fair point, yeah.
That's a whole nother topic though. Talking about gender in video games.
Yeah, I mean, there's, race and gender in video games is always on topic. People get mad at every game that comes out for, whatever reason.
I want a
I-
20-foot tall female character with buff arms and short hair.
Oh, it's the concept art.
That's the concept art for
Me too.
Ash.
Ah, okay.
It looks like they genuinely just tried to do different styles, and that might be why like the skin tones might be different. Because I definitely do
It's-
love how the more like cowboyish one looks.
It's the characters aren't designed the way people think they're designed. Their backgrounds aren't what they come up with first. They come up with a concept, right? They go,
Yeah.
we want female cowboy outlaw. And then their artists go and they draw them, and their choices in skin tone and everything is color palette. They are painting these characters the same way you would paint a room and decide what color your furniture is by mixing and matching color palettes that work together. So, and then once they've done that, then they've sat down and said, this is her story. And they write a story for her. I almost guarantee you that's how her development went. That they didn't sit down and say, she's a Caucasian, blah, 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 and then made a character out of it. It's the other way around.
Yeah, for 100%. They're not like, all right, we need someone from Romania in the game. So let's find out how we can make someone from Romania. Like, they just create a character they think cool, and then they place them somewhere in this world. I think it's like more. I don't think the artists are really. I don't like forced diversity. Like, I don't. They're just making their characters, and then someone decided which one they wanted, right?
Yeah.
I don't really blame anyone for doing it. I don't think it's consciously. If they were consciously trying to whitewash their game, I think that's a conversation that obviously should be had. But it just seems like their artists are just making their characters, and then the people up above are just picking the ones they like the most.
I don't know about any other game news. Oh wait, one more game news. Hey, Kingdom Hearts trailer came out, and I'm excited for that. I just wanted to let that out. Like,
I saw that the Xbox conf thing, right?
And the way that they did it was so weird because they were just showing old images or now old videos of stuff we already seen, and then just immediately they just dropped it. No intro, no anything, and people were like, "Wait, It was just
It was a lot of story stuff going on in there. Yeah,
and that scares me because when trailers do that for movies, when they show too much of a movie, that's where it's like a big red flag of it's probably not going to be very good. That was like the Assassin's Creed movie that came out. I don't know if you guys remember that one, but that one was not a very good movie. But
I don't think any of us will correctly predict what happens in Kingdom Hearts.
Nope.
Maybe the end. I bet the end works out. But besides that, the path through there.
I'm sure there will be people to fight. I think Keyblades will be used.
I guarantee there will be a long, arbitrary monologue about darkness, light, hearts. The darkness inside all, but there is light, and that light is friendship. There'll be some stupid thing like that.
Given how long this has been in development, I'm fully expecting to wander aimlessly for about 20 to 25 hours, and then be railroaded and funneled right to the end of it. While I drive around in a fancy-looking car with a whole bunch of product placement.
Square Enix does that.
Final Fantasy 15, huh? Yeah, they're gonna Final Fantasy 15 it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That was so sad that it ended that way.
I will tell you right now,
Chapter 4
I
chapter
did not
6?
like Final Fantasy 15. I played it for an hour and I was like, I'm out. Didn't like it. As further away it gets from Final Fantasy 10, the more unhappy I get, though.
Oh, so no 13 either.
No.
Everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, 13's amazing." 13 Part 2 was also amazing. I never played 13.
If they just went, I would like 15 if it was just not called Final Fantasy and it was just like Backstreet Boys traveling through, this country. I'd be like, cool, this is fun.
Cheetah Girls.
I wonder if that's a PC mode.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know what I was going to say.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's totally done. It's okay. Wasn't important.
But yes, Kingdom Hearts, I'm excited about that. And I do very much hope that when it does come out and it's, done, I'm not sad by anything.
I think that'll be impossible. Well, I mean, I guess I don't know your expectations, but
no,
it'll be very fun.
No, I'm hoping I can have a satisfying conclusion. I don't want it to be like, but wait, what about this one thing that we never answered? I guess you'll have to find out in a different. I don't need that.
Aqua got Norded.
So
they're gonna have like a super satisfying ending. Everyone's storylines get wrapped up. They're gonna leave a Keyblade in the sand, and just the last second before it goes to credits, a hand will come in off screen and pick it up, and you won't know who it is, and that's it.
The Keyblade's gonna be spinning, right? And it's gonna start to wobble, and right before we find out if it falls over, it's gonna cut out.
Because they gotta leave themselves open to make a sequel in 20 years if they decide that they want to do that.
Because you need to know if you're still in the dream world or not. All right,
Kingdom Hearts 458 days over 642 recoded.
Things about that time. You think you guys are ready for a mystery topic?
Sure.
I nailed the last one, so I bet I'm killer on this one too.
All right, well, I guess we'll see then. In case anyone in the chat doesn't know, mystery topic is just a topic where the host or any of the two hosts pick a random topic to talk about that should be fun, that the guests have no idea what they're going to be about. And this time, I would like for you guys to, from scratch, create a villain for an RPG video game. Okay? The RPG video game, let's see. Let's go with the protagonist has to go save somebody in a castle somewhere. Fine.
Okay, we're the Bowser of
you are the Bowser, but
we'll make our own character. Okay.
Are Sasha and I Bowsette?
Be careful. Someone will make fan art.
Please. I don't trust
fan art is already gonna be someone spamming.
It's already started. Jexel's already gone. He's gone. So I want you guys to make a villain for an RPG, and I want you I want you to have a name and his backstory on why he's doing what he's doing. Why did he take the girl in the first guy, whatever? Why did they kidnap the person in the first place, and what their main goal is? Make it interesting, though. I'm
thinking of a white-haired female named Ash, and her goal is to make sure everyone in the game is as Caucasian as possible.
Is that actually it?
No.
Okay. Do you guys need any like more detail on what?
No.
Name
You
is-
just we gotta create a villain, right? That
Yeah,
we've
just
So-
create a
so-
villain.
And why we
This-
want
this-
the booty?
Is it a combined
this
villain
is a-
or is this an individual for each of us?
No, individual for each of you guys.
Okay.
Yes, Sasha.
This is like a typical Mario kidnap the princess type thing.
Well, I guess just to explain that a little more, I don't want it to be like Mario. It's supposed to be RPG style, so I guess
But I mean it's that story
yes.
beat that
We've
it's, you
kidnapped-
kidnap the
we've kidnapped
princess
the
and the
good
heroes are going to go save the princess. Why is the bad guy
Mhm.
kidnapping the princess? Gotcha.
Yes. I'll give you guys like 30 seconds to figure it out for now. Don't worry, it's okay. You go ahead and reach. Already on it. Wait, I don't know why he's triggered, but okay.
I'm thinking. All right. This
No,
is.
no,
this
I
is-
know you're
I
thinking,
like
I know
the
you're
video
thinking.
game concept is way easier. You have to think of a backstory,
Yeah,
visual representation.
just make it interesting. If you want to make it as something that has already been done, but just a different name for a character, go for it. Oh, I also want you to tell me
The name.
what is,
Ooh, that's a good
I
one.
mean, besides a name, backstory, and an article of clothing that they wear that stands out.
Okay.
Okay. I will give you 10 more seconds. No. I mean, you gotta make that thing. You're not going at the same time. Someone's gonna go second and third. It's fine. So 10 seconds is now up. So
I
for
can't.
platypus.
All right. I'll come up with it on the spot because I don't know.
Cool.
All right. My character, my evil character
Mm-hmm.
is a cat person. All right. Humanoid cat.
Okay. Humanoid cat.
And we will go with the male as I am male, and it's more relatable to me.
Mm-hmm.
He has kidnapped from the local town a mouse girl. Okay.
Okay.
Why did he kidnap this mouse girl? Is a good question. Hopefully, we will discover this throughout our journey. You know what? That's it. That's all I got. I can't think of anything
Okay.
about even remotely related to. I've never created a character in my life, so
So it's
I
hard.
can't think of a motive.
So it's a hard question.
I'll come up with a new video game concept. You guys do characters.
Sasha, you have anything yet?
So our villain is Duke Jenkins.
Duke
Um,
Shankin. Okay.
Yeah, I only had a couple seconds to come up with the
That's
last
fine,
name, and I
that's
have Halo
fine.
on the brain, so we're good. We're lucky he didn't end up with John. So okay. He kidnapped the princess, who is his daughter, although she doesn't know this, from the
Hmm.
queen, who he perceives as evil because she neglects said princess. He just wants to get her away from the evils and dangers of courtly life. And he has like a tattered cloak, and his clothes are dirty and whatever because he's been hiding in the woods and running on the run for so long.
This is deep. Wow. Okay, this is really good. Hold on. Okay. And that's the backstory.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna go third. I'll create one. I gotta represent.
Okay. Vaughn.
I kind of got like a beginning part, so kind of like for Platypus. Mine's a rat person. And in this kingdom, there's cats are the majority, though the rats are the minority. And he's had a poor life, poor upbringing, didn't really eat much, but always saw this cat princess being paraded around, seemed to have the best life and everything, and so he decided I'm gonna steal that booty. I want to be rich too, so I'm just gonna steal the princess and maybe somehow impersonate her. So he starts building up skills, RPG. So I thought like stealth skills. He has to learn, to talk better because he grew up in like the poor district. Didn't really get much of an education. Rats don't go to school. And then he just builds up all his skills. And one day he goes to get that cat booty. He finds one of the royal guards drunk in an alleyway, steals his helmet. It's a little big for his little rat head. So that's his like signature piece of clothing, I guess, is oversized helmet for cats. And eventually he sneaks into the castle, finds the cat booty,
And
Cat-
takes the cat booty.
takes the royal princess.
Sorry, royal princess. That's what I meant to say. Master Splinter. Okay, Platt.
All right. The villain is Ferkel Smathenvis. That's his name, all right?
All right.
He has some sort of magical power about him. It's completely unclear what the source is, but he's essentially a real-life D&D character. He wears a big, giant, golden D20 necklace around his neck. And before he does an action that, like in combat or something, he has to roll his D20, and that'll dictate the strength of his power. So obviously, if he gets like, 10, 15, 20s, he gets this surge of power, and he's able to do what he wants with the critical hits and critical misses, obviously, the whole thing. From the local town, he kidnaps, he went into town one day just because he was out on vacation doing something I didn't think of, but he was out there. And he went to the local inn, and he was gambling. There was this lady that was just rolling, boom, she was taking everyone to town with dice. And as someone that's so obsessed with dice, he was interested. And so he challenged her, and he got like completely cleaned out. He lost all of his money. And so he's like, I need to kidnap this person so they could teach me how to roll these dice, or, because they think they have some sort of things. But it turns out this person is just a thief that was conning them using loaded dice. But this person is actually a runaway princess from the far off kingdom of Genericsville.
Okay.
And so the
but
king,
they don't know that.
No, they don't. The princess knows that. So this person thinks that this is actually a person that's talented at rolling dice, because he's like, I thought it was just random, but it's not. Obviously, you can influence it. But this person using loaded dice gets kidnapped. And so the king, who is her father, has to hire these heroes and to go save her. I don't care about the heroes. They suck. They die. They don't win. He gets a 20.
Great.
He used the loaded dice against them. Yes.
What's the name of the person again? Do you remember his name?
Yep. The villain's name is Flurkle Smathenvis.
Smathenvis. Cool.
And he is your doom.
Vaughn, what's the rat person's name? Did you say one?
Skeets.
Keats.
Skeets.
Got it.
Skeets.
Hey, y'all. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a gigantic meteor comes down onto this world where all three of your characters happen to reside in.
Holy crap.
Yeah. And meteor goes on Earth. It blows up that part of the world. And from the meteor emerges basically a god. And this god says, in 3 days, I'm going to basically destroy the entire world unless anyone can entertain me and make me laugh. So, using you guys' characters that you guys now have made yourselves, you guys have to go to the god, stand in front of him, and make him laugh with your characters and their skills. What would each of you do?
We'll go in the same order at which we made them.
I mean, sure.
I guess it's different on the stream.
Okay, so Sasha, do you have any idea yet?
The very first thing that popped in my head is because the Duke is supposed to be this like misunderstood father figure, that hopefully this god that emerges is infantile. It's still young, and he would try to be, it would just be nothing but dad jokes and just bad puns.
I love it. I love it already. Okay, Vaughn.
So I'm thinking this god is like, I'm thinking like Rick and Morty, kind of like the
Show us what you got.
Yeah, kind of god.
Show us what you got.
So Skeet's gonna go a little bit more of like he's gonna peer into to another plane of of existence, and
Mm-hmm.
those people, oh man, they really like that rap song. Oh, that's my name. So he's gonna, recite some Lil Jon, some skeets.
Skeets.
He's gonna play up the rap card with with this guy, hoping that he likes his flow and his
Mhm.
little rat dance moves.
Mm-hmm. All right. Plaid.
All right. Well, my guy is going to decide whether or not he wanted to, before he just like, all right, should I deal with this guy or should I just let the world blow up?
Mm-hmm.
So he rolled, he got a 20 and he's like, this is a sign. All right, I could deal with this guy. So he goes up and he's like, I don't know how to make people laugh. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to beat this guy. So he goes up and he gets to this god and he starts making this big speech. He's like, with the power of my D20, your time has come. And I, Flurkle Smathin Vis, and the god cuts him off. He's like, what did you say your name was? I was like, I said it's Flurkle Smathin Vis. And the god just starts laughing at him. And he's like, stop laughing. And the god doesn't. So then he just goes home and he weeps. But he still has the kidnapped girl.
Those are all very good. All right. Well, God's happy. I mean, I would have laughed at any of those, to be honest. So he goes, thank you for your service. And then he leaves your plan. And you all are now here. So final question. How do you guys deal with being heroes now of basically the entire world? People know you everywhere you go.
I'm happy. That's what I wanted.
Okay, you're good. Okay. Sasha?
Duke Jenkins uses his newfound popularity to depose the evil queen, and everyone lives happily ever after.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Platt?
Man, I think my guy is just a guy of simple taste. I think he just goes around and drinks a lot and fools around with people, probably, right? Like, he's a very worldly person. He cares about gambling and dice the most. He's not, like, deeply introspective.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's it. He just
he
he abuses his power as much as he can.
Got it. You guys just created your own characters. Congratulations. You should use those in
D&D
from now on. Yeah, in D&D. Just you already made your D&D character. It's done.
He's too self-aware.
I am down to make Skeets a D&D character.
Mm-hmm. Please make all your characters. In fact, actually, now that you guys have told me about your characters, I'm going to make sure that for my D&D campaign, they are in there somewhere. So thanks for that. This was actually all a ruse once again for me to get new ideas.
Free content.
Free content, yes. Just like how Vaughn just stole the joke from the chat. But it's
no, it was my joke. I've been telling Nana it's mine. I said skeet skeet. Skeet skeet.
Good, great, no, perfect.
I'll
and that's
fight you, Nana. I'll fight you.
What time is it? Okay. So I guess we can end the podcast here. But before we do, I'm going to give one more for each person to once again introduce themselves and just explain what they're going to be doing in the future for future streams or anything else related to that. So, Platt, you can go first.
All right. My name is Perplatypus. You can find me at twitch.tv/Perplatypus or on Twitter at the Perplatypus. This week starts Fallout 76 streams, and in the future I'll be playing Artifact. And nothing else much to say about me, other than if you're not following me, you're probably not going to for me asking you, but I question your character. That's all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Understood. Vaughn.
Well, I go by Vaughn Amore. I'm also a variety streamer. This week we actually are going to do a little bit of some Starbound stuff. So we're setting up a whole server, and if you play, definitely come and join me. Otherwise, next week we do start Pokemon Yellow, and I'll also be doing some collaborative stuff with our lovely Sasha Jace as well.
Hey, there you go.
Nice.
Also, real quick, everybody, Vaughn helped to host, or I don't know if you were the only person that hosted it, or set everything up, but she did a tournament, a Left 4 Dead 2 tournament, and that was completely amazing. And you guys should totally check out any clips that are in our Discord.
It was
Please
fun
do.
times.
It was a lot of fun to watch, even though I came late, but it was really fun. And you guys play, all three of you guys actually played, so I'm sure
Yep.
you guys had a lot of fun.
It was a
But,
blast.
Super fun for sure.
Yeah, and last but not least, Sasha.
I'm Sasha Jace. You can find me at twitch.tv/Sasha Jace and on Twitter, just at Sasha Jace. My next scheduled stream is Monday night at 6 Eastern, but you should probably follow me on Twitch here and on Twitter because I don't have to work tomorrow, so I might stream earlier than that, and I still need to do dishes, so,
Nice.
depend on how much stuff I
Very
get done in the
relatable.
day.
Very relatable.
So, I'm working my way through the whole of the Halo series. Tomorrow night we should finish with Halo Wars and may move on to Halo 1. I'm not 100% sure. Or we'll do something else to fill in the gaps, because I kind of planned out my whole month and I'm going to beat everything faster than I thought I would. And that'll cause problems.
Because you're
So,
really good at video games.
That's me. No, I'm really not.
All right. And my name is Asix Soul. I guess I'm a variety streamer, I guess, and also the host of this podcast. You can follow me at Asix Soul on Twitch. The name is right below my face. You can also follow me on
All of our
Twitter.
names.
Yeah, all of our names are below our face. You can also follow me on Twitter, and I forgot my Twitter name. I always do, but my Twitter is AceXSoul Tama. Tama just means soul, so it's literally AceXSoul soul. Whatever.
Cool.
Yeah. I am doing my best to start streaming again, and now that I got the Kingdom Hearts full game package, I'm probably gonna just play those again because they're just
Hype.
fun games to me. And I also just recently bought this cool headphone thing, so now I won't sound terrible on my streams, hopefully, because I'll have this cool headphone thing.
Nice. You should talk to Lanfy. He's still going through 100% of all the games, and he just finished
yeah.
Stream Drop Distance.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, sweet.
I'm gonna actually talk to him about what he's gonna do next. I want to see if maybe we can do something together later on, since he's doing all the games.
Heck yeah.
So our next podcast will be hopefully next Sunday. It will probably have different people or not. We'll see. But next Sunday, November 18th, there will be topics. The topic will be what are the highs and lows of content creation, and what goes into that, all the planning and all of that stuff, how to take care of yourself when you're doing it. So we're also going to talk about food, which is very important because food is delicious. And
Yes.
all that stuff. So that'll be next topics. But until then, please make sure you follow all of the lovely people here. Everyone here is amazing and part of CSS. CSS is called the Coalition of Salty Streamers. We are a cool group of people, I think. I believe. Yeah, we're all right. And everyone on there has been nothing but kind to me. So everyone should check them out. Any last words from anybody here?
When you told Sasha last but not least, I just want to know if you had a least in mind. Were you thinking of anyone? You had have a ranking.
Probably me.
You're gonna put yourself. All right, that was the right answer, but I just wanted to make sure.
You all
Right, sorry.
are amazing.
Sorry, Sasha. What were you saying?
I said banana. Last word. Banana.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. You know what? That's a solid last word. I gotta say, better than mine.
Which is
Turnbuckle.
that's pretty. Okay, Vaughn.
Just really thankful I got to be here with you guys.
So, guys, is your last word?
Sure.
Okay, so sure is your last word. Okay, got it. Cool. Thank you everybody for coming out. We will see you guys when we see you guys. Right? Have a good night. Bye.
Night.
Have a good night, everybody.